It's never been displayed publicly before. It's never been auctioned before. But what's going to be up for grabs at Christie's auction house in New York is historically significant. It was painted by the French Impressionist master Claude Monet. The work is called Water Lily Pond. It's an 80-inch panoramic that experts say was painted between 1917 and 1919 in Monet's later years. Christie's believes it'll, quote, be received well, which means it'll fetch a lot of dough. The record for a Monet painting like this sold for more than $80 million back in 2008. This one is estimated to get somewhere near $65 million, which no matter who you are, is a lot of Monet. A strike involving thousands of American auto workers and the big three car makers looks like it's coming to an end, and the terms of their tentative agreement are what we're covering next on The World from A to Z. I'm Carl Azus. Welcome to the show. Some members of the United Auto Workers Union started walking off the job in mid-September. It was the first time the union launched a strike against all three major U.S. manufacturers: Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, which owns Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Since then, the strike has grown as car makers and union leaders negotiated pay and benefits for workers. The union initially asked for 40% raises for its members over the next 4 years. The tentative agreement is for them to get raises of 25%. But they'd also get pay increases for cost of living and bonuses of $5,000 each if they ratify the deal. The union asked for expanded retirement and health care benefits. It did not get everything it wanted there, but car makers did agree to increase their contributions to workers' retirement plans. Ford and GM reportedly agreed to get rid of a system that paid new workers less money, but the car makers did not agree to shorten employees' work week from 40 hours to 32 hours at the same pay. The big three car makers have seen high or record profits in recent years, but collectively, they've lost billions of dollars during the strike. And going forward, financial analysts say the automakers' deal with the union would cost GM $7.2 billion, Stellantis $6.4 billion, and Ford $6.2 billion over the next 4 years. Ford says this means its costs per car would increase by around $875. And critics say that's a downside of this agreement, that it'll make it harder for American car makers to compete in pricing with their rivals in Asia and Europe. The union's president said, quote, "We won things no one thought possible in negotiations. The next step is for union members to vote on whether to accept the 4-year agreement. That process could take a couple weeks to complete."
A word of knowledge. Who was known as the Prince of Humbugs? P.T. Barnum, Ebenezer Scrooge, Harry Houdini, Eeyore. Humbug used to mean a trick that entertained people by fooling them. An American showman, P.T. Barnum, called himself the Prince of Humbugs.
And he became the namesake of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. 2 years ago, the government of France decided to put an end to the use of live animals in traveling circuses, TV shows, and certain aquarium performances. At that time, a circus director interviewed by the France 24 news channel said roughly 800 animals were in French circuses and that these events attracted 14 million viewers, while circuses without animals attracted 1 million. The law didn't take effect immediately. It's slowly being phased in. It's also controversial. Animal rights activists said it's a big step forward in protecting these creatures and potentially reducing animal cruelty. Some critics said the law should have gone farther to ban hunting, bullfighting, and certain types of farming, while others said existing French law already ensured circus animals were well taken care of, but that the new legislation would close circuses and kill jobs. There are also concerns about what happens to the animals once the law fully takes effect. One option could be a site that's 50 miles outside the French capital.
Lions, bears, elephants, and primates are all living out their retirement years at this animal sanctuary owned by Patrick Violas. With the coming ban on traveling circus animals, Violas expects to be getting a lot more tenants, and he plans to expand his sanctuary.
More than a zoo, this is a shelter. It is a refuge. Above all, for animals that need it when there is no other solution.
The new legislation also bans dolphins and orcas at marine parks and minks on fur farms. Violas has a number of animals he's rescued from other situations, animals that couldn't be sent anywhere else. This is a macaque, and if Violas hadn't taken her in, she would have been euthanized. These two lions were taken from their mother as babies. After removing their claws, their owners took them to the beach and nightclubs where tourists could take photos. Paulo Teixeira is a former circus worker who now works at the shelter, and as you can see, he has a special relationship with the animals.
They should really know what they will do with those animals after passing the law. Who will they take animals from? Because I put myself in the shoes of people who might see their animals taken from them. If they wanted to take my animals, I would be really sad, very sad.
And the animals at this sanctuary don't look like they want to be anywhere else.
On this date in world history. On November 1st, 1604, William Shakespeare's tragedy Othello, a story of love, jealousy, and deceit, was performed for the first time at Whitehall Palace in London for King James I. Exactly 7 years later, same palace, same king, the first known performance of Shakespeare's comedy The Tempest took place. In 1870, a weather service was established within the U.S. Army's Signal Service Corps. It was created after several weather-related disasters sank thousands of ships in the Great Lakes. The government agency is now known as the National Weather Service. On November 1st, 1993, the European Union, or EU, went into effect for 12 Western European nations. It unified their government policies, created a central bank, and paved the way for a single currency, the euro. The EU later expanded to include 28 European countries, but the United Kingdom officially left the EU in 2020. One of the classes we're announcing today is in Georgia, but not the U.S. state where I work. We're talking about the Republic of Georgia on the other side of the Northern Hemisphere, where Mr. Crawford's class is online at QSI International School in Tbilisi. Great to see y'all again from the set of my new show. Next, to Wakefield, Massachusetts, we see you, Miss Henrik and her students at Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational High School. Mrs. Bockhausen's students in Michigan wanted to know if I dressed up for Halloween. I was Gru from Despicable Me and Minions. Didn't like the idea at first, but it grew on me. Anyway, because some kids who might have wanted to go trick-or-treating last night weren't able to, a medical organization in Texas decided to help them out.
WFAA reports the staff at MedStar in Fort Worth, Texas made sure their pediatric patients got to trick-or-treat this year. The kids either have medical conditions or illnesses that hamper their mobility. So the medics, in creative costume and fully adorned ambulances, help the kids hit the streets, going door to door in lavishly garnished gurneys in search of goodies. A special experience for the kids and kids in spirit.
It's something good. It's something warm and heartfelt. It's genuine. You get to feel nostalgic and remember like what it was like when you went trick-or-treating, but you're also providing something that these kids maybe wouldn't get to have the opportunity to do otherwise.
So here's a fun way to deal with something left over after Halloween. A locale in Oregon is really familiar with smashing pumpkins. This past weekend, the town of Seaside sold squishy toy ducks and other animals for $5 a pop, put them all in a pool, and used a giant crane to drop a 1,000-pound pumpkin on top of them. This is actually a competition. Whoever bought the farthest flying toy animal after the splash won 400 bucks. Of course, putting animals like that on the wing could be considered a waterfowl idea that causes a variety of maladies, but let's not get modeled in either of those ducktails. Once the winners are spotted and called, you know they won't waste time dilly-dallying or pondering. After all, who'd duck out on using their webbed feet to collect that bill quackly? I'm Carl Azus, lacking any more duck puns, but happy to land near you once again tomorrow on The World from A to Z.